Hello and welcome back to Let's Build, guys. It's been a while since we've done one of these videos, since last Tuesday was the 400 subscriber special of Slender the Arrival, so make sure to check that out if you haven't already. But we are back in our village, and on the last video I had loads of suggestions of things I could implement into this village, which was fantastic, and I've looked through them all and I don't see a reason why I can't get them all in there. So we started off today by building the beginnings of our main road out of gravel to link up the bakery, the farmhouse, and what is going to be today's build, which is some normal residential houses, because of course a village is going to be filled with those. We want to use them to break up a little bit of a gap between all the sort of utility buildings. So you can see me mapping out the shape for two houses here. I made one of them just a normal rectangle, and one of them a combination of two rectangles slightly offset from each other. I'm going to make them different heights just to add a little bit of depth and variation to the house, because it would be boring if everything was just a square, wouldn't it? So you can see me mapping out using wooden planks the skeleton of what will be our structures, and going around the tops with wooden stairs to fit in with the sort of house theme that we have for the architecture in this building. As you can see, I've made it slightly different levels, again just for a little bit of variation and a little bit of depth. So it was then time to design a wall face. I decided that this house being the smaller of the two, I would stick very closely to the design that I used on the farmhouse, which is a poorer sort of design, using vertical columns of white wool and dark wood. I also added in a little bit of a doorway with a step up and a little bit of a balcony roof, just to make it a little more variant, sticking out from the flat wall face, along with a couple of windows. Round the back, I built a second door, because why does a house only have to have one door? There's multiple ways you can get in. So I built a back door to this house with a very similar overhand roof idea for a bit of depth, and then came round and implemented two windows on the longer side here. However, due to a natural dip in the surface, it meant there was a lot of wood showing, which looked a bit off, I thought. So I decided that I would add in two flower beds by these windows, just to mix it up a bit, put it in a little bit more depth. Coming round to the second house now, and I decided, since I'd followed the farmhouse architecture style, I would follow the bakery style, which has a horizontal trim of dark wood along the bottom, with the rest of the wall made up with the white wool material. So doing that on this building, I did the two ends of our main section first, adding in buildings windows. I put a log around the top, and the use of fence, glass panes and wooden buttons, our usual building material for the village, to help add depth to those wall faces, because you all know the worst thing you can do is just have a flat wall in Minecraft, because it looks terrible. You can see me coming along to the back now and realising that there's a really great dip around the back here. You see a lot of wood where normally it's only 2 blocks, 3 blocks high. So I added in a doorway there that is a back exit of the building. Coming round to the front where the height changes slightly, which is always a good thing to play around with. If you keep everything on one level, it looks off, it doesn't look realistic, so it's good to keep things changing their height, making a bit of variation in the build. It really helps make it seem more alive. So coming around and building with a similar style, but lowering the windows into the wood section this time, again just for a bit of variation, and doing a similar decoration technique as I have been across the whole building. And then it was round to the front to implement the front door to this house using a similar roof style as I did on the previous one. Back to the first house now, it was time to implement the roof. And these are people who don't have a business, they don't own a bakery or windmill or a farm, so they're not going to be able to afford wooden roofs like some of the other houses have. So I was back to our good old friend Wheat, using it to create the effect of a thatched roof, because I had a lot of positive feedback with this effect on the farmhouse, and I really liked it. From a ground level, when you can't tell that there's any dirt there, it gives it a really good look. So I decided that I would stick with that for both roofs of both these poor houses, I'm building to divide up the farm and the bakery with whatever we choose to build next. So after making all the wheat appear with bone meal, I nipped around with the lightest colour wood, just to edge it out, make it harder to see the dirt, which makes it just that bit more realistic. Filling in the gaps and adding some wooden poles, beams that would support the roof and also divide up that flat surface just slightly. And finally adding in a cross window at the top of both sides of the building. And onto the second roof now, one down, one to go. And this one, because of the different layers, I had to merge two different peaks together at different angles, perpendicular to each other, which made it a bit more tricky, mapping out the wood, but overall gave it a much more alive, realistic effect, and is definitely worth the extra hassle of getting it done. So you can see I'm running around, I put down the dirt, go across it with my hoe and plant the seeds, and then finally come back across with the bone meal to get the wheat up for this thatched roof effect. Running around now to the back of the house and doing the same technique. Almost done. It's a long, monotonous task getting these wheat roofs, but I really feel they're worth it as they really give a vibrant, realistic and different effect. It's something you don't often see in Minecraft buildings, and that's always a good thing, making your build just that slightly bit different from the usual. Going round and fixing up the sides of the building where the peaks hit their tallest points, and then coming around to the front. I play around, joining up the wood until I'm finally settled with something I'm happy with. I repeat it on the other side and add a window into the top of the building, and then we are done. I just nip around adding doors where they need to go. So there we have it, guys. 2 houses, the first 2 houses to grace our village, and I'm really happy for the way this building turned out, both of them. I don't know if it's just the wheat roofs, but I really do love that effect, and any building that I've built with them, I've ended up extremely happy with the depth and the variation, and overall the whole quality of the build. We did 2 separate architecture styles that are very similar, so they complement each other, but different enough that it doesn't look like I'm just copying the same build over and over. And that comes off very well when you need your 2 buildings so close together. So, as an overlook of the village as a whole, we can see things really coming together now. This is becoming a busy little section of our village. And we have the windmill, the farmhouse, and the animal pens across here, all linking up with the barn and the bakery. All this is linked, and it's all the ways the people of our village will get their food, a vital resource. But we also need to think of other things. There is some, although it is limited, stone in this build, so far only on the chimney, but it will crop up more and more as we see more of the more expensive buildings. And also, wooden logs are easy enough, but wooden planks will require a sawmill, a bit of production in there. So that's 2 buildings, both of which have been requested, a mine entrance and a sawmill, and I'm very sure that we will definitely be building those very soon. I plan on curving this road round and heading up this way, so maybe this area will be a place for a mine entrance, although maybe that's too close to town. You guys can let me know, what do you think? Should the mine entrance be close to town, or should I build it over on the outskirts and use this area for maybe more housing and put a sawmill? I'm thinking if this road links down here, I'm going to build the sawmill on this side of the road, plant up a bit of a forest to cover this flank of the village, making it a bit more secluded, and also providing plenty areas for our sawmill to dig up. We could then build a bit more housing, look into building some more utilities like more shops, maybe a marketplace, maybe a small church, until finally we're happy with our village, and I will build a bit off from it a manor house. It will be the final step in our village, and it will be very different from the rest of the village. It will be separated from it, and it will be a very rich building, because the manor, the lord of this village, doesn't associate with his people. He does not share his wealth. He's not a kind man. He takes it all for himself, takes all the spoils, and he'll have a very luxurious house. I may even put in a guard tower somewhere, a small one albeit, to show that this is part of a greater civilization that is trying to enforce some laws, even if they do not care that much about such a poor village as this one. But that's all lore and things to come. We've got plenty of time to decide that, don't we, guys? That's everything for this episode, so thank you very much for watching. If you enjoy this series, hit the like button. If you don't, hit the dislike button. It's the only way I can know if you guys want me to continue doing a series like this. I'm very happy with this build. I hope you guys are as well. So thank you for watching. Tune in next time. See the next thing we decide to build. Bye, guys.